And maybe I can share a little bit more about the graduates that we have interviewed. So one of the biggest gaps that we see is that most of the graduates will put that they are strong in all the skills like tools that they use like Python, SQL or any programming language. But what companies are really looking for is as well as their ability to think and ability to solve problems, right? So it is also equally important that when you are putting in your resumes or or during your interviews, you're also answering the question of what problem are we solving, what business impact will this tool bring, whether this tool, what kind of decisions will it help me make. So all of these should be also prepared. Another common gap that I see is communication. Again, from the perspective that a lot of students will say they are really strong technically in a lot of languages and tools, but I think something to call out for is also whether you're able to narrate the story behind the numbers. Are you able to connect the data to the decisions? What business judgment or business, how will you apply this knowledge to business, right? Because end of the day, we're all trying to drive business value. Another one, if I can call out based on my experience, is adaptability. So when you enter organizations, you would not have like a clean set of data to work for. The data will be quite disjointed. You would not have half the information. So it will be very important for all of you to work well with the teams to get all that information before you can even start analyzing the data. The environment will be fast, things will be changing fast because we are in such a VUCA world that we call right now, right? So I think it's important that you're able to adapt and work well with the teams across different functions. So I think it's very important to also focus on the softer skills along with your technical knowledge that you're gaining, because this is what will really help you thrive and be successful in the future.
That's a very good piece of advice for the students actually. Yeah, thank you so much, Ms. Ewa. Okay, let's move on to Mr. Hari. What advice would you give students to sharpen their technical path and how you progress to your current role? And you can be a role model to the young generation here, and you can share your experience.
Okay. So actually, what you said just now really resonate with me because when I first started out, I started as a data analyst in a company called Schlumberger or SLB. Now they have rebrand. So I work in their DNA departments, but even though we are like in DNA departments, our client are the internal departments. What I meant by internal department is we work with HR, we work with the upstream oil field, we work with the warehouse team. So there are quite a lot of different ways of how we look at data. So when I work with this company, when I work with HR, I see how they use data. For example, they use data on how to predict who's the next in line to promote, but it's more of like a guideline lah. They don't really like 100% use it as a guideline, as a who's to promote and everything. But when I work with data warehouse is to see if they have a backlog in terms of like shipping and everything. So they actually detect. So we have like a what time does this this product came in, so what time should they get this out, because like in data warehouse this kind of timing are very important. So when I work there, I actually see how data plays out in very different disciplinary. So it's actually not just you making charts and everything. So every chart has its meaningful ways and how you can interpret it. So and after I think I worked 4 years in there, but then I joined consulting. And when I was in that company, I worked with this Dutch FMCG company. And what really interests, like wow, for me is that they actually use kind of like a machine learning on how to do pricing. So most of it are based on the carbon footprint data. So it was something new for me, and I thought it was very interesting on how you can use data to determine pricing. And then I joined EY, and it was something new for me also because I never thought that we can do all this cool stuff with and audit data. So I would say like in the data analyst world, you might think it's boring because it's basically just tables and charts and everything, but it's actually, if you look into every stories of interdisciplinary, it's very interesting. So yeah, I would say that's my career path.
Interesting. Thank you very much for sharing, Ms. Rina.
Right, thank you. I think it's a great question, and I think part of the answer has been answered by Ms. Eva over here. But true, if you want to become a data professional, for example, if you want to become a data scientist or data analyst, data engineer, and I see job roles now, data detective and all of those things. When I first joined the workforce, my chief data scientist, Dr. Stan, right? So what he told me was, in order for you to be a great data scientist, you should be a great Python coder. You don't really have to be great lah, but at least you must know how to code. Because coding is the language that we use to speak to the computer. For example, imagine I don't know English, I only know Tamil, and my boss here, she doesn't know English, she only knows Mandarin. You know, how are we actually communicating with each other? It's the same concept. It is the language that we are using to interact with the computers. So this is what you actually have to get excelled. Because nowadays there is a lot of training providers free, especially when you're a student. You know, even in Malaysia we have a lot of training providers. You know, there's YouTube is a very good platform for you to learn all of this coding, right? And there's a lot of coding platform where you don't even have to install the Python in your laptop itself for you to actually do the coding and stuff. So that is something that you should really look at. And also, well, as I'm not really a fan of SQL because we don't really use at work, but then it's okay to learn the basics of this and R. It really depends on the company that you'll be working at, and also what kind of projects, what kind of data that you're dealing with. So each and every of those would have their own set of expertise or skills that you actually need to work. But in order to become an overall data professional, you should be able to have, you know, some knowledge in each of these, and then you can choose to have one industry or one skill that you're very expert at. So, and also when you're talking about coding, I do see the trend nowadays, ChatGPT is here, so I'm sure many of you guys don't even code yourself most of the time. You only ask ChatGPT to do it. So, well, it is, well, I'm an AI professional, so I always advocate that yes, we should use, but in order when we are using this, I also see nowadays that a lot of people, you know, they want to do print hello world, but they are also using ChatGPT to make sure the code is correct. So we want to avoid these things, right? Well, ChatGPT or generative AI should just act as an accessory to actually support and save time. You're doing some coding and you have some sort of errors. Well, you know, those days you must open, you know, full stack and PyStack and all of those things you actually want to check. But then now you can just copy paste in ChatGPT and then, oh, there's error. So that's how we should actually use ChatGPT, not by, you know, starting and asking every question. And also coding helps you to actually, you know, think very critically and smart how are you actually solving the problem. Because as a data professional, the value that we bring is our ability to solve business problems using data. So when my parents ask me what do, I don't know how to explain to them because they will never understand. So I just say that I'm an engineer. If they ask me why, they say data engineer. So that's how I just tell them, you know. But it is actually something that is evolving right now, and then we should actually, you know, try to be there. Because the way I see in the future, there are a lot of graduates in data science. I don't think this trend was here for the 3 years or 4 years ago, even though data science has been there forever. But then the trend nowadays, a lot of training providers, engineers, everybody want to hop on into the AI and also the data field, right? But it will get very, very competitive. So you as a graduate, when you're applying for roles, you have to stand out. So for example, you can always, you know, get yourself to participate in Kaggle. You know, Kaggle competition, you're not going to pay, and there's a lot of hackathons and stuff where you can actually participate, and then you can, well, win or lose is a different thing, you know, but you will always have those things to put in your resume to stand out. So my last point is, a good data scientist is where, like, as you said, you should be able to translate your technical jargons and everything into business context. When you go to work, the bosses, they actually don't care what kind of model you use to do this, what kind of programming language that you use to do this. All they want to know is, what is this and how much are we generating, for example, with the business value stuff, right? So you should be able to communicate the insights properly with your audience. If let's say we have a graph, how are you actually communicating your graph, right? So that is about data storytelling, that you should be able to, you know, communicate to your audience and they should understand. That is the whole point, and I hope these tips help you guys. Thank you.
Yes, definitely. Interesting. So to connect the dots, we just had our assignment 1 for the unit of Foundations of Data Analysis. And for the panel speakers, in Monash, we have something called AI statement, a generative AI statement for every assessment, your organization. And I believe that you're hiring as well. Yeah, and you can share with the students about the potential jobs that you are hiring people for, and anything that you would like to share as an anecdote. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not sure how many of you have ever heard Scheffler. Can I have a show of hands? Have you heard about Scheffler? Maybe from your engineering classmates? Only just 2. Maybe because they are friends of Shaza, who's interning with us. All right. So so we are here. Schaeffler is primarily a German MNC company. It started around 75 years ago by 2 brothers in Germany, and it is a prime supplier of automotive and industrial sectors. So we are the leading motion technology company in the world. So basically anything that moves is usually powered by one of our products. So if I can just share, I don't know how many of you have been to London and have seen the London Eye. Any of you? No, okay. So basically the reason that London Eye rotates is because it has bearings, and that is something that powers the rotation. So it's, it's one of our products. Even the International Space Station, the reason it's able to move is because of the products, and we have partnered with NASA to, where our products are there. So it's actually in any field which is moving, our products will be there. We are now also entering into e-mobility, also focusing a lot on Industry 4.0 digitization kind of products. So that's a little bit about the company, but later we have our booth outside, so if any of you are interested, please do give us a visit and follow us on LinkedIn also. Okay, and I think primarily in Malaysia, we have the commercial organization, the shared service sectors, and then we have the regional teams, finance and IT side primarily. Our HQ for APAC is in Singapore, and otherwise it's in Germany. And the kind of roles that we usually hire would be finance roles and IT related roles. We also hire now, because we are an engineering company also, there's a lot of data which comes from the products that we have installed in preventive maintenance, and also a lot of that analysis has to be done of that data to already predict what kind of problems might occur in a machinery even before it occurs. So as I said, it's a very exciting time to be in the analytics field. You just don't have to think that data analysis is the only way to go. Supply chain, operations, HR, marketing, even if I say strategic side, these are all the areas that you can look to venture into in the future, even transformation kind of roles, right? So it really depends upon your interest areas, because you understand data, you're able to make decisions, so that already gives you an edge over others, because now we are just about data and who's able to make the best story out of that data, right? I think one of the last things that I would like to say, in order to progress in this field, as I mentioned and we have been discussing in the past 1 year, soft skills are equally important. Earlier you learn them, the better it will be, and will really put you in that leadership positions that we have been talking about. So ask the right questions, be inquisitive, problem solving, critical thinking that we have been discussing in the past 1 hour. I think all of this would really give you an edge and make you stand out. So when you put in your resumes, I know this tool, just don't put that. You also put how did you use that tool to solve which business problem and at what impact did it create. So a person who's able to explain this in his first interview would be far better than a person who says I specialize in these tools. So I think this is my last statements and some motivation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Eva.